Hello everyone, thank you for joining us this morning and welcome to this educational presentation of Attention Traders. This is the trending tool that you've been searching for. Now in this educational presentation, I want to introduce you to a tool that I've been actually using for over 4 decades. I first started using it, I was introduced to it on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. Now let me share with you one of, in my opinion, what is one of the best uses and applications of this particular tool. Let's look at this older chart here of the QQQs. Now, someone looking at this would say, well, Steve, absolutely no trend here, kind of in a whipsaw market, up and down, and not enough data to actually give me an idea of what this market wants to do. But with this tool I'm going to introduce you today and the technique I'm going to share with you, it actually would have generated an uptrend signal right here. So you would have known that an uptrend was most likely going to take place and very soon. And as you can see, the QQQs rose 25 points in the next 3 months, which represented literally thousands of points in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Now, this was a proprietary tool that I had to actually calculate on the floor. It was rather cumbersome because you had to calculate just about every minute whatever you're looking at. But the beauty of this now is that we've taken the hard work out of it for you and we've programmed it on our new PTS charting platform. This is what I designed with ProTrader Strategies. It's the educational portal that actually teaches you how to trade with the trend. So welcome once again. My name is Steven Primo, President and Founder of Specialist Trading. 10 years ago, I teamed up with ProTrader Strategies with one goal, and that was simply to educate you as traders. Education is what's really missing in most traders' trading plans and in their background. I know a lot of people think, well, Steve, I never went to school. I didn't get in economics and business. I don't understand it really, and I'd rather go to someone tell me what to do and tell me what to buy or sell. Well, in my opinion, this is why most traders fail. It's been estimated upwards of 85%, because what you're doing when you allow someone to make your own decisions is you take yourself out of the game. You're basically telling the markets, I don't know what to do. I'm not educated enough. I'm not experienced enough. So why don't you tell me what to do? And that couldn't be further from being a consistent trader than anything else, in my opinion. I know this firsthand because this is the way I was taught. And when I first started trading, I did the same things and I couldn't make a dime. I was on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. I had advanced information, high-speed computers at the time, and I still couldn't make ends meet. It wasn't until my mentors taught me these things that I teach in my courses and what I'm going to be teaching you today that my trading turned around. So this is what we do. We basically provide you with the tools, techniques, and the education that I've accumulated in 42 years and help you to be in charge of your own trading destiny. Once again, in my opinion, this is the only way one can become a consistent trader. So I'm going to educate you today and share with you this technique that I really use a lot in my own personal trading. But before we begin, as always, we are first required by law to share this with you. So please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results using this particular technique. But please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the performance results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And also remember that all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Once again, as you're taking a brief moment to view the required disclaimer, as always, we want to invite each and every one of you to follow us on Twitter. So if you haven't done so already, there's a lot of great free educational information I post on a daily basis. So please copy down our handle right there. Anywhere from signals our strategies have generated to little bits of financial wisdom. So lots of great free educational information. Feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now remember, as I stated in the opening statements, we are a little bit different, in fact, vastly different from most webinars or most websites about trading that you may have attended in the past, in the fact that our only goal, our only source is simply to educate you, all right? We're not here to tell you that we have some system that never loses or that will make you rich or have you retiring in 6 months. We're not here to tell you what the perfect time frame is, what the perfect market is that you should be trading. That's up to you to decide. We're here to provide you with that education, with that knowledge, and then work with you so that you can ultimately decide for yourself. This is the specialist edge. This is the same edge I was taught some 4 decades ago and what has been the cornerstone to sustaining me. So hopefully it will be able to do the same for you. Now this is going to be an educational class today. So once again, I want you to ask me as many questions as possible. But if you're new to my webinars, I like to take the questions at the end. That way we don't have to stop for every slide. And many times your question is answered 1 or 2 slides going forward. So if you have a question, please write it down or try to remember it. I promise I'll get to it at the very end of today's class. The only question I will answer is the most common and popular one, and that is this being recorded? Yes, we record all of our webinars, so if you have to leave early, you have any technical issues, don't worry. We'll send each and every one of you a link to this recording at the very end of today's class, okay? All right, so please hold off on questions to the very end. With that stated, then let's begin. And I want to start off by sharing with you what my mentors taught me, because remember, I don't want you to think simply because I was on the floor or you think that I've had more experience than anyone else that I started out with tons of money and I could never lose. On the contrary, I probably started the same way most of you have, where I first started out with my eyes wide open, so excited about trading, and right off the bat, I couldn't make any money. And I was doing everything that I had been taught. We didn't have any chat rooms then, but I was subscribing to all the newsletters that you were supposed to from all these trading gurus. I was watching all the news. I knew all the earnings reports. I would listen to all the trading gurus on TV, and nothing worked. All the volume, support, resistance, all the things that were supposed to work didn't have any sustainability for me. Sure, I'd have a good trade every now and then, but then I'd give it all back like 2 or 3 trades later, and I was right back where I started, or even worse. So here's what my mentors taught me that got me on my own personal road to consistency some 4 decades ago, because they saw that I was really overcomplicating things. I had maybe like 20 indicators on my screen. I was listening to all these trading gurus. I had all the indicators lined up. I had all the earnings estimates for all the stocks. I knew exactly what was supposed to happen. I was waiting for tons of information. It was just so complicated. It was a wonder how I could trade in the first place. And what they taught me was, they said, Steve, in the 4 decades ago on the trading floor, the simple thing that they taught me was that it's the easiest thing in the world to overcomplicate your trading. Basically, anyone can do that. And think of it. You can be trading for 20 years or 20 minutes. It doesn't take a lot of character to add more things onto your trading plan. It's really simple. Anyone can do that. So it's the easiest thing in the world to overcomplicate your trading. But what they taught me is that it's the most difficult thing in the world to simplify. Because once you simplify, you have to let go. You have to release all these things that you've been taught, all this traditional wisdom that we've been taught for years that's supposed to work, like support and resistance, like the institutions, like volume, like Fibonacci. And you see that, well, once you let it go, you see that there really wasn't a lot of consistency, because most of these things are too subjective. You want things that are more cut and dry. They're more black and white, that everyone looking at the same chart will come up with the same analysis. So how does one simplify their trading? Well, not only are you going to let go of traditional wisdom, but the most important thing they taught me is that you have to trade with the trend. Now, we all know this. This is the first thing we've been taught when we're trading. Obviously, it's trading 101. You always have to be in sync with the trend. The only trouble is everyone and their relative has an idea of how to discern what the trend is. There are 1,000,001 ways to find out what the trend is. Everyone has a different idea. Here are some of the most common ones, the most generic. You can use an indicator. When the indicators cross, whatever you're looking at, to tell you when the trend has changed. You can look at patterns, higher highs, higher lows, or lower lows, higher lows, or whatever. It's confusing. Or even different time frames. A lot of traders like to look and make sure that the time frame they're trading is in sync with the higher time frame, and vice versa. That's how you get in sync with the trend. Now, all of these in these most popular ways of finding the trend, these categories, have a certain level of success, but they're very moderate. I mean, you're not going to really get much further in your trading using these. So we need something that is a little bit more defined, that is more something that is in tune with what the market is doing. And in order to trade in sync with the current trend, you need a tool that not only shares with you what it thinks the trend is, but what translates what the market wants to do on a tick-by-tick basis. Because really, if you think of it, the market is almost like someone from a different country. If you're standing there trying to converse with this person and you're both speaking different languages, you're not going to get very far. I mean, sure, you'll make hand signs and you'll try to show gestures to find out what you want to do, but it's very difficult. You'll have limited success, and ultimately it's very, very stressful and it's exhausting. What if you had a translator? All right, so say you don't speak the language, but at least if you had a translator, you get much further in that conversation with someone from a different country. It's no different from the market. We don't have to overcomplicate this. The market speaks a different language than we speak. We try to put all these traditional wisdom, these ways in which to trade it, and it doesn't seem to work because we're not translating. We're more likely trying to predict what it wants to do. We're using hand signs, but that doesn't work. We need a translator. So how can we translate what the market is telling us? Well, this is the tool I want to share with you today. I've been talking about it for ages now, and I was first introduced to it 4 decades ago. That tool is the Pet Dee, all right? Now, for those of you who are new to my presentations, you're saying, well, what is this Pet Dee? I've never been to one of your webinars. What exactly is the Pet Dee? Okay, the Pet Dee is a proprietary algorithm. Remember, when I was introduced to it some 4 decades ago, I had to calculate it on almost a tick-by-tick basis or a minute-by-minute basis. That's how difficult it was to keep up with the different translation. But we've taken the hard work out of that for you. We don't want our students around the world to be, so cumbersome with a technique that is so, uneasy to put together and that you can't even watch anything else. So we've made it into a color bar tool. So we've defined it by just having 2 colors, by having a series of red colors or a series of green colors. That's it. So once you apply the Pet Dee, your bars, whatever you're looking at, intraday, tick charts, weekly bars, currency pairs, whatever you apply the Pet Dee to, it will either color that bar green or red according to its translation. Now, one of the best ways to use it is as a signal confirmation tool. So this means whatever strategy you want to trade, I don't care if it's one of yours, I don't care if it's one of mine, I don't care if it's based on the full moon, it makes no difference, but it can confirm your signal. So if you get a buy signal and the Pet Dee is confirming it by coloring that bar green, that's a high probability setup. That's the beauty of the Pet Dee. That's one of the most popular and best ways in which to use it. But we're going to share with you today how it can be applied as an early trend detector. Because remember, half of the battle is being in sync with the trend. At Specialist Trading and Pro Trader Strategies, we'll never try to trade against the trend. This means we'll never try and buy at the bottom or sell at the top, because that's silly. We don't believe in that. That's like swimming upstream. Why would you swim upstream when it's a lot easier to swim with the current at your back? That's what the trend detector does. That's what trading in sync with the trend does. It's a lot simpler. You feel more confident. You sleep better at night because you have the current at your back. So let me share with you an old example here of how the Pet Dee looks. Most traders looking at this chart would say, okay, well, by this point right here, they've committed to that. This is a downtrend. And they say, okay, this is going nowhere. It's going a lot lower. It's time for me to sell this or to get out. And by the time you do that, the trend changes, right? And then let's say you're short. By this time, you're hoping and praying it's going to go lower. Maybe you sell more, or maybe by this time you get out. It's too late. You've lost a lot of money. Once you apply the Pet Dee on our platform, it automatically changes the colors of the bars from green to red and so forth. To see here, we knew well in advance with a series of red bars that we were in a downtrend. And well before it started to go up and go back to the old highs, it gave us a warning with a series of green bars that you were in an uptrend. So once you know what the trend is, you can apply any technique to that direction. So today I'm going to share with you a very simple technique, but an extremely powerful one that is specifically designed to use the Pet Dee to tell you what the trend is. All right? This is our pullback technique using the Pet Dee. So how does it work? All right, well, the setup is you need 2 tools. You're going to need the 50-period moving average, which tells you the overall trend. We call this our buy-sell line. And obviously, you're going to need the Pet Dee. These are both easily accessible on our platform, the PTS Primo charting platform. We made it simple so that all you had to do was simply click one time at the certain spot and it would automatically appear on the screen. All right, so here are the rules for the uptrend technique. Because remember, we want to be in sync with not only the short-term trend, which is the Pet Dee, but also with the overall trend, which is by using the 50-period moving average. That's why we use those 2 tools there. All right. Now, what you want to see is that price is above the 50-period moving average. Now, that tells you the overall trend is up. But even in an overall uptrend, you'll see some red bars, okay? So after a red bar or a series of red bars appears, an uptrend setup will occur on the very first green bar, because this is the short term being in sync with the overall trend. Now, this is a sign that quick upward momentum may continue. Now, please remember, this is not a strategy I don't want you to say, wow, Steve, this is amazing. I want to buy this. I'm going to start trading it tomorrow. No, we're trying to teach you how to identify the trend. All right, so we look at this generic chart here. We see here's the 50-period moving average, and price is above. So that means the overall trend is up. But what color are the bars? The Pet Dee has painted them red. So the short-term trend, as defined by the Pet Dee, and the overall trend, as defined by the 50-period moving average, are out of sync. So we don't want to trade this because, the short-term and the overall are out of sync. We want to wait till they get back in sync. How do we know that? Well, usually that happens on the appearance of the first green bar. All right, so we have our first green bar there. It's above the 50-period moving average, so that's telling us now, remember, this is not some guy in a chat room, this is not some institution, this is not some guy on TV, some so-called trading guru, it's not me. It's the market telling you that the short term is in sync with the overall trend. This is a high probability setup for an uptrend to take place. All right? This is coming from the market, the source of what you're trading. Not coming from me, not coming from two different time frames. It's coming from the market. So right here, if you were short, if you're thinking about getting short, well, I would strongly suggest that you do not do that because the market's telling you it wants to go higher. And look what happened in the following bars here, okay? You see how simple it is to trade in sync with the market as opposed to trying to fight it. The market is your best friend. It's not your enemy. It's not your opponent. So what you want to do is be in sync with your friend, all right? It's a river. The market is a river. It's not something to battle. So you want to jump into the river and swim with the current at your back. It's that simple. We don't have to overcomplicate things. Remember, my mentors taught me it's the easiest thing in the world to overcomplicate, but it's very difficult to simplify. It doesn't get any simpler than this, okay? What you see here is when you have the green bar and it's above the 50-period moving average, that is the short term in sync with the overall trend. So there's no need to look at, well, Steve, is this an hourly chart? Should I look at the daily bars or should I look at the weekly? There's no need to do that if you don't want to. I mean, I know a lot of traders love to think that that's what it means to be in sync with the trend, but in my own experience, that's kept me out of a lot of good trades. I personally have found no consistency in using that. Remember, there's a lot of things that we're taught that are supposed to work that don't work at all. My mentors taught me, they said, Steve, there's so many things there are that aren't, meaning that traditional wisdom really doesn't work. Why don't we just listen to the market instead of trying to pinpoint things by using all these indicators and all these techniques? Let's just listen to the market. Now, the market is in sync with the short term with the overall trend. Now we start to see a sell-off and the bars start to turn red again. All right, does this tell us, well, that means the trend is down? No, because we're still above the 50. Until the red bars are below the 50, then yes, we have a downtrend. But look what happens next. We have another green bar, all right? That's our signal that we may be getting another uptrend. And then look what happened, okay? What about the opposite side of the coin, all right? The downtrend technique is just the same thing, but it's just simplified by turning it upside down. Now you want to see price below the 50 because that's telling you that the overall trend is down, all right? Now, even though the overall trend is down, you may see a little bounce in that overall trend. That's when the bars turn green. So a green bar or a series of green bars may appear. A downtrend setup will occur on the very first red bar after these green bars, all right? Could be one green bar, then a red bar, could be a series of green bars. Makes no difference. But the very first red bar is your sign that quick downward momentum may continue. So let's look at this generic chart again. We are below the 50. We have a series of red bars. Now we have a couple of green bars. Does this mean we're in an uptrend? Well, we need to have 2 or 3 above the 50. And then look what happens. We have a red bar. So that means, what is the market telling us? Not what some guru was saying, like, oh, well, the earnings are supposed to come out. This stock's supposed to go straight up, or this market, this currency pair should go straight up. No, what is the market telling us? It's telling us the short term wants to go lower because it's red. And it's telling us the overall trend is down because it's below the 50. So this is an early warning sign. It's not a strategy, but a sign that a downtrend may continue. Do we know how low? No, this is not a predictive tool. It's just telling us at the moment. Remember that the Pet Dee translates on a tick-by-tick basis. So look what happened. We went down for a while, and then we started to bounce up again, a series of green bars. Now we had one green bar above. So now the market's telling us that it looks like the trend is changing to the upside. But then look what happens on the very next bar. We correct ourselves, go right back below the 50, and the bar is red. So the short term and the overall trend are in sync. This may be the beginning of a downtrend. Even though we had one up above, that's okay. And look what happened, okay? See how the market tells you what it wants to do? You don't have to listen to anyone or anything else. All right, so we had a short-term downtrend there. Now we start to bounce up again. We have one green bar in this instance, followed by one red bar. All right, what's that telling us? What's the market, the source telling us? It's telling us most likely it wants to go lower. So that could be the beginning of a downtrend. And look what happens. We went much lower. So do you see how simple it is to trade in sync with the trend when you have a translator telling you what it wants to do? You're no longer trying to predict how high or how low something will go. You don't have to look at different time frames. You don't have to have a ton of indicators crossing over. You don't have to listen to what the institutions or what the volume is doing. You don't have to look on TV to listen to some trading gurus. Remember, it is the easiest thing in the world to overcomplicate your trading. It's the most difficult thing in the world to simplify. But the Pet Dee and this technique really simplifies things. Okay, so let's look at some technique examples in the real world. Now these techniques, these examples are going to be anywhere from 2 to 3 months old, just so you can get an idea. And then I'm going to show you some older examples in other markets. But then I'll conclude the presentation with some very recent examples that happened a couple of weeks ago, maybe even a few days ago, okay? All right, remember, all of this is going to be done by sharing with you all the slides that are taken from our PTS Primo charting platform. This is the educational platform that teaches you how to identify and then trade with the trend. We make it simple. Remember, 42 years ago when I had to do this on the floor of the stock exchange, it was one of the most difficult things in the world because the minute I finished a 5-minute bar, I had to start working on the next 5-minute bar. And it was difficult trying even to trade. We've, with the luck of some great programmers and with high-speed computers, we've made it into a proprietary color bar algorithm where all you have to do is look at the colors. And everything is one click away. All right, let me share with you the process. All right, we're looking at an older chart here in QCOM, Qualcomm. All right, looking at this, someone would say, Steve, look at this. This stock's going sideways. There's no trend here. In fact, this is a sideways market. We don't want to trade something like this. The market's not giving me any clue as to what it wants to do. It's just going nowhere, going sideways. Why would I want to trade this or get involved in this? All right, once again, this is the way I used to trade, probably the way 99.9% of all traders look at the market, okay? Most likely you'd say, well, I'm going to wait till the earnings come out, or I'm going to wait till that guy on TV starts to mention this. Maybe he'll tout this stock, but I'm not going to do anything until an outside source tells me what it's going to do, all right? Once again, the way we're all taught, someone or something has to tell us how to trade. Well, the first thing we want to do with our platform is click on the buy-sell line. The buy-sell line will tell us what the overall trend is. So let's click on the 50-period moving average in the drop-down menu. And now, where it looked before as if the market was going sideways, we have a clear idea that actually it may be going sideways, but the overall trend is up. And if the overall trend is up, we don't want to sell. We want to be a buyer. But we need a little bit more structure. We need a little help on the short-term trend. So we click on the Pet Dee on our platform, and automatically the colors change. So now we see we have a series of green bars, and then followed by one red bar, and then followed by a green bar. That is your uptrend setup right there. Even though we went sideways for the next couple of weeks, we had another one, a series of red bars followed by green bars. That is your uptrend setup. So where someone else would say, Steve, the market is not telling me anything. This stock doesn't know what it wants to do. Actually, the market is screaming that it wants to go higher. Now, you still have to add some structure in the form of a strategy, but I can tell you right here that many of our strategies were generating buy signals here. And look what happened in the following days. The stock gapped up 30 points, all right? Now, this is where the way most traders trade, they'll look at this and say, how come I never know about these stocks that take off like this? That traders love to play the victim game. They love to say, like, I never get these ones. Every time I get involved in something, it loses. That's because you've taken yourself out of the game and you're waiting for someone or something else to tell you what to do. But once you really have been educated, once you really get the proper knowledge, you don't have to do that. You can make your own decisions. That's what our goal is. Our goal, remember, once again, is not to trade for you. Our goal is to teach you how to trade so that you can be in charge of your own trading destiny. Let's look at some more buy examples here, okay? Another one in MAN. We have a series of green and then followed by a series of red. Now, even though these red were below the 50, it looks like a short-term downtrend in sync. We have a bar that closes above and it's green. That's still an uptrend sign. The stock went up 16 points in the next couple of weeks, and you even had another one here. If you didn't feel like taking that one, you had another one here where you could have made roughly about 10 points. How about APC? All right, price is above the 50-period moving average, one red bar followed by one green bar. The market, not me, not some guy on TV, but the market is telling you it wants to go higher. Most likely an uptrend is in place, and the stock not only gapped up, it went up 28 points, 2 gap ups. Obviously, some news came out here to make it gap up like that. This is where most traders say, well, Steve, don't you need to know the news and need to know what's going on fundamentally with the stock? No, not necessarily. I don't look at news. I stopped looking at news 4 decades ago. I never look at the news. I only look at the chart in front of me. Because someone would say, well, how do you know? Because the market tells you what it wants to do. I always say this metaphor, like if I'm walking down the street with a friend and we're talking, all of a sudden it starts to rain, there's a literal cloudburst, and I'm just wet, soaking wet. Am I going to look at my friend and say, now, will you explain to me why is it raining right now? Let's have a discussion on why it went, dark and all of a sudden started clouding up and then all of a sudden started pouring. I'm not going to have the discussion. I'm going to take cover and react because I'm getting soaked. It's the same way with fundamental news. Why would I want to know that when the market was telling me that it's raining, that it wants to go higher? How about Apple? Okay, here's an older chart of Apple. We have a couple of red bars followed by one green up bar. The stock goes up 30 points. If you missed that one, don't worry. There's always more being generated. If you missed the first one, there's always a second one you can get involved with. Here's an older example in Facebook. We're above the 50, so the overall trend is up. A series of red bars, but they're still above the 50. And now our first green bar. So now the short term and the overall trend are in sync. The market's telling us that most likely it wants to go higher, 32 points. And you had a second chance right here as well. Now, that original example I shared with you in the QQQs, okay, how did we know it was going to go up like this? Well, we didn't know how high it is. Remember, we never predict or try to calculate how high or how low something will go. We only want to be in sync. That's our only job, is to be in sync with the market and then jump on board. When the market changes, it'll tell us it's going to change, and then we go the opposite direction. So right here, we knew in advance. How did we do that? Well, we added the 50, and we're above the 50 right here. And then what else did we do? We added the Pet Dee, and we had that one red bar followed by the green bar. That's our first uptrend. We have a couple of red bars followed by another green bar. That's our second uptrend signal. We have another red bar followed by a green bar, another couple of red bars followed by green bars, 2 more uptrend signals. And the QQQs rose 25 points in 3 months. Now, that was comparable to roughly 2,000 Dow Jones Industrial Average points. Okay, you think you could have taken advantage of that uptrend? Remember, most traders love to play the victim game. They love to say, gosh, I wish I would have known we were going to go up. Once you educate yourself and you take charge of your own trading, you never have to play that victim game anymore. You're responsible for your own results. All right, let's look at some downward examples here. All right, once again, someone would say, well, Steve, we're in an uptrend. This is a morning star bullish engulfing pattern. This is really good here. I like this. And plus, that chat room I go to says that we have some type of bottom here with all the support and all the volume and all the institutions buying. So I like this stock. I'm going to buy it. All right. Once again, the majority of traders trade this way, taking their cue from an outside source. We take our cue at Pro Trader Strategies and Specialist Trading from one source. That's the market. So what's the market telling us? Well, first thing we want to do is apply the buy-sell line, click on the 50 period, and what is the overall trend? Well, price is below the 50, so the overall trend is down. So we're not going to buy this. The overall trend is down. We want to look at this as a selling opportunity, not a buying opportunity. Now we want to see what the short-term trend is. All right, we add the Pet Dee, and it changes the colors. So we have a series of red bars, followed by one green bar, then one red bar, followed by another green bar. So we have actually 2 instances where the market is telling us it wants to go lower. Now, oftentimes you'll see examples like this where it doesn't happen right off the bat. You saw that with a couple of buy examples. But usually it'll kick in, and there you see the downtrend. This is where, once again, Most traders look and say, what happened? I thought the institutions were buying. Or what happened? I thought everyone in that chat room loved this stuff. Don't listen to outside sources. Listen to the market. Learn to translate what the market wants to do. All right, so the market went down based off this technique, and then it started to bounce again. We have a series of green bars, but we're still below the 50, so we're not going to look at this as a long-term uptrend. It's just a short-term uptrend in an overall downtrend, followed by one red bar. So what's the market telling us? It's telling us that most likely a downtrend is going to take place again, and look what happened. And if you missed that, there was another setup right here, followed by another one over here. All right, let's look at example in HCA. We're below the 50. We have one green bar followed by one red bar. Doesn't work out. As you can see, we go for another week or two with another example, and then we still have another example. So we have a cluster of examples here where the market's saying it wants to go lower. Now, at this point, someone could say, Steve, this doesn't work. Well, remember, this is not a strategy. I'm not telling you to sell here. This is just trying to tell you what the market's going to do. And oftentimes the market needs a little push. It doesn't decide just like that. And sometimes it needs a little while for things to come together. But ultimately, it's still telling you not only once, but 3 times that it wanted to go lower. And ultimately, it did finally kick in. In fact, it kicked in to the point of 20 points lower. All right, WDFC, we see we cross below the 50. We have a series of red bars, one green bar, one red bar, 15 points to the downside. And there's another example you could have taken advantage of. Tesla, okay, this is an older chart going back a couple of months. We're below the 50. We had one green bar above. So now the overall in the short term, we're telling us that most likely we're in an uptrend, but then look what happened. It quickly reversed, and now price is below the 50, and the short term is red. So now they're in sync to tell us that a downtrend is most likely in play, and the stock fell 60 points coming into May and June, okay? And you had 3 more chances to get in if you missed that, or to label that this being a downtrend. Let's look at WBA. This was a simple one. Once again, crossed below the 50, it turned red. 19 points to the downside with 2 more examples. Another example in the spiders. Now, we all remember what happened at the end of the year. The market went straight down. Everyone was saying, what happened? Why did the market go down so much? I mean, I knew a lot of it had to do with these, the trade wars, but I didn't know it was going to be this serious. Well, most people, once again, find out about the trend after it's too late. We knew well before the market fell out of bed that it was telling us it wanted to go lower. We don't care what the reasons are. Just the same way when we're getting soaking wet, we don't care why it's raining. We just want to, protect ourselves. The same thing with this. We don't care if it's a trade war, whatever. All we care is what the market's telling us. The market's saying it wanted to go lower, and it fell 37 points. The spiders did. All right. Now, 37 points translated onto literally thousands of points in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, over 3,000 points to the downside. Remember, once you listen to the market, you never have to play that blame game anymore. Let's look at some other markets real quickly, okay? These are older charts, but other different time frames. Here's a weekly chart of Disney. If you are a swing trader, nothing changes because we changed the time frame. The same process. We have our first green bar, 25 points to the upside in 1 month. How about a 30-minute chart of IBM? Okay, 2 downtrend signals coming from this technique, and it fell 5 points in the next day or so. Okay, remember, you're intraday trading here. How about currency pairs? Here's a 4-hour chart of the euro-yen. Nothing changes because we're trading currency pairs. We're below the 50. We have our first red bar, and the currency pair fell 150 pips in the next couple of days. That's roughly about $1,500 per unit. Lastly, we can look at the Emini futures. Here's a 10-minute chart of the Emini. Same process. We're above the 50. We have a series of red bars. Here's our first green bar. What's the market telling us? I don't care what some guy's telling you in chat rooms. What's the market telling us? It's telling us most likely an uptrend is starting, and it sure did. In fact, it went up 21 points. That's comparable to 1,000 points per contract. This happened just in about an hour or 2. Lastly, any commodity traders here? Here's an older chart of crude oil, okay? Looks like it's a whipsaw chart going up, down, up, down. Once again, the same process applies to commodities. We apply the buy-sell line, click on 50-period moving average, and even though the chart may look like it's in a trading range, it's actually above the 50. So the overall trend is up. We're only going to be a buyer, but we need a little bit more structure in terms of the short-term trend. So we apply the Pet Dee, and same process. We have a series of red bars followed by one green bar. So in crude oil, it was giving us an uptrend signal coming into March, and crude oil went up 13 points. Sure, there are all these fundamental reasons why crude oil is going up, all these economic reasons, all these reasons going all worldly. Well, how did we know? Because we don't follow the news. It's not required at all. The way we knew is because the market tells you what it wants to do, most likely in advance. Now, let's share with you some very recent technique examples, things that happened a couple of weeks ago or even a couple of days ago. Here's a chart in the spiders once again, okay? Now, a lot of people were surprised by the recent rally we had. We weren't. We had two sells, or I should say two red bars, followed by an upward green bar. The short term is in sync with the overall trend. And in June 28th, beginning of July, the S&P had this nice rally we currently had, which just ended, I believe, about today, since I saw lastly. Now, that's 10 points. That's thousands of points in the Dow. Here's another example in SQ. This happened on the 28th of June. Almost the same chart, two red bars followed by a green. Stock goes up 10 points coming into July 12th. Let's look at another example in CGC. This is a downtrend example. Why? Because we're below the 50 and we have two green bars followed by a red bar. All right, this isn't a big downward move, but at least you knew not to buy this when everyone said, well, Steve, you have to buy the market, right? Not really. It fell out of bed and there was a downward signal there. If you missed that, there was another one right here. You see how easy it is to be in sync with the trend when you have a tool that translates what the market wants to do. Another example, GWR. Middle of end of June, just a couple of weeks ago, we're above the 50, so the overall trend is up. We have one red bar followed by one green bar. That's an uptrend setup. So if you're thinking about selling this, I don't know, I may want to rethink that because the stock went up 15 points. Once again, someone would say, well, how did you know it was going to gap up like that? How did you know that news was going to come out? We had no idea. But 2 weeks prior to that gap up, the market told us right here it wanted to go higher. HI, as you can see, we are below the 50. We're kind of oscillating above and below, but now we have one bar below. This is a little bit more advanced, but it still works. It's a downtrend sign, and look at the gap down. 6 points in a couple of days, all right? See how the tool told you in advance? UNH, even though we have a series of red bars, where are they in relationship to the 50? They are above. So we're not going to sell them just because the short-term trend is down. We're waiting for our first green bar, which is right here on July 5th, just a week or so ago. 20 points in the next week, okay? There's no reason to overcomplicate your trading. We look at SRPT, the same process. We're above the 50, two red bars, and here's the very first green bar telling us that the market wants to go back up again. 20 points again coming into July 12th. Here's a downward example of VMW. We have actually two examples. Here's a red bar followed by, I should say a green bar followed by a red bar, another green bar followed by a red bar. Two downtrend examples. So the market is not telling us once, but twice it wants to go lower. 12 points coming into July 9th. CI, we have a buy setup right here and another one right here. Here's the first one, the first green bar followed, and here's the next one, okay? The market really hasn't done anything, but on July 10th into the 11th, a 35-point rise in one day, okay? You see how when you have the knowledge of this simplicity of translating, you never have to play that victim game again. All right, so let's recap before we go into question and answer phase of the presentation. Remember, to use this technique, you need the 50-period moving average to tell you the overall trend. You can start using that right now. That will really increase your odds for consistency by applying that right now to any chart, any market you're trading. But if you really want to kick it into overdrive, then you apply the Pet Dee, because that's going to tell you that the short term is in sync with the overall trend. Remember, the 50 shares with you the overall trend where price is. The Pet Dee tells you the short-term trend. You no longer have to look at a weekly chart to be in sync with the daily bars. You no longer have to look at an hourly chart to be in sync with the 5-minute bars. All you need are the 50-period and the Pet Dee. Keep it simple. Now, extremely important points to remember. This is not a trading strategy. Remember, this is a trending tool. Once you know the trend, then you can apply any strategy to that. All these examples I shared with you were not examples simply to buy at the market. They're simply techniques highlighting or spotlighting a point where the market is deciding to continue a trend. Once you know the trend, you can apply any strategy, any method. It could be one of yours, one of mine, someone else's. Makes no difference, but you will increase your odds for consistency. So it's not a trading strategy because we didn't talk about where you'd enter. We didn't talk about advanced entry signals. We didn't talk about stop placement. It doesn't work 100% of the time. I'll be the first one to tell you that. Nothing works 100% of the time. So you need to know where to protect yourself. We didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about where to get out, all right? What if you have a really nice profit? Where do you get out? That needs to be discussed if you're trading a strategy. And lastly, we didn't talk about money management. How many shares? How many contracts? How many units to buy? We never talked about that. These are extremely important pieces of the puzzle. That is what makes up a trading strategy. But all we shared with you today, remember, was a trending technique. So ask yourself, and remember, 2019 is more than half over. Do you think this trending tool can help your trading for the remainder of the year? I think most of you would answer yes at this point. So come on board with a great attendee discount we have for all of you in attendance today. Come on board with a tool I've been using for 4 decades. We're going to give you a great discount for the Pet Dee. This is our roadmap for any market, any time frame. All right, it's a proprietary color bar algorithm. It comes with 2 continuation trading techniques and 2 pullback trading techniques. It also comes with a trailing stop technique. Remember, the beauty of this is that you can apply it to any market, any time frame, any strategy. And this also comes with educational correspondence. You get my personal email to contact me whenever you'd like with questions. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, Steve, I use TradeStation, or Steve, I use Metastock. Can I get the add-ons for those platforms to change the color of my bars? Sure. We'll provide you with those as well. That comes with the offer. But guess what? You'll still have a little complication in this because the way those formats are set up, you have to click on different boxes and different ways in which to access. You have to go through the whole standard procedure of getting the Pet Dee. We've made it simple for you. We're going to offer you the PTS Primo charting platform. This is the educational portal you've been searching for. Why? Because it makes things so simple. All the examples you saw here today were taken from snapshots of using our platform. Today only, we're going to throw in 12 months of the PTS Primo charting platform free. Everything you saw here today is one-click access. But we're not just stopping with giving you the Pet Dee. There are so many other things included with this. Over 4 decades of techniques and tips I've accumulated in my own trading career. Obviously, you get one-click Pet Dee access. You're also going to get our enhanced buy-sell line. Those are 4 different ways for finding out and applying the 50-period moving average. You also get a strength of trend tool. I developed this with ProTrader Strategies, which is a great tool. We've had so many people using this, our students, that can tell them once they think a trend is about to run out of gas. It's a great way to find out if there's more energy or momentum left in a trend. You also get a signal scanner. You can scan on a nightly basis for all the stocks in whatever market you're interested in. We provide you with all these different market lists to find out what the ones are that are green with the Pet Dee and which stocks closed with red, all right? Over 90 of the most prominent technical indicators, free Bloomberg TV. Now, we don't require anyone to look at fundamental news, but if you need to look at that, if that's a part of your trading plan, who are we to tell you not to use that? Remember, we're just here to give you information. We're not telling you how to trade or how not to trade. So if you want to have fundamental news coming out as it appears, well, free live Bloomberg TV that comes on a little screen on your media page on the chart. And then lastly, we have personalized tech support. We have rave reviews, testimonials about our tech support. Usually when there's ever an issue, it's solved in a matter of moments, and this all comes with the package, okay? So here's our roadmap for success. This is the Pet Dee. Remember, it stands for the Primo Early Trend Detector. I use it on a daily basis. I was using it trading before we even started today's presentation. Here's the offer we're having. Our Pet Dee course and application and platform, all for $29.95. But one day only, today only, we have a payment plan available. For $14.97 down, you can purchase this and $97 a month, okay? Remember, that comes with a full year of the platform. A full year of the platform is close to $2,000 in and of itself. That would run close to $5,000. But for only a one down payment of $14.97 plus $97 a month, you can be up and running today with the Pet Dee. So here's how to take advantage of this. Contact Pro Trader Strategies. I developed all of my courses. They handle all of our discounts and all of our pricing. You can email them at the email address provided there. I would suggest calling them directly to establish that payment plan. You can call them at area code 310-598-6677. They have qualified trading consultants manning the phones right now who would be happy to put that payment plan together for you. But remember, that's for one day only. Now, the link you see below is the link that gives you more information. It's the sign-up page as well as the informational page. It's not a live link, but a live link was just posted in the chat box on the far right-hand corner. So if you want to go to that page, you can simply click that on. But remember, this offer is good today and today only. Then it goes back up to $3,000. And who knows, by the end of the year, it may be even up to $4,000 because that's how popular this tool is. Now, I'm going to leave all this information up here. Remember, I said you can ask me any question you like. We have about 10 or so minutes left in the presentation. If you have a question, kindly go to your question and answer box right now. Just write it in, and I will answer it to the best of my ability. Someone is asking right now, what are the platforms that we can apply this to? Well, you can apply this to all the most prominent and most used platforms. I'll name off a list of those right now. Thinkorswim, TradeStation, Sierra Charts, Metastock, MT4, NinjaTrader. You can use the add-on on all of those platforms. So those are the platforms you're currently using. We will send you the add-on so you can upload the information, and it will automatically change your the Pet Dee colors on your price bars, whatever market you're looking at. But remember, if you really want to take full advantage, you're still getting a full year's usage of the platform. And we made it there specifically simple. Remember, you want to keep things as uncomplicated as possible. That's the way we designed our platform. Pro Trader Strategies and I spent years putting this together so that it was as simple as possible. Whether you've been trading for 20 years or 20 minutes, like I said earlier, it makes no difference. It is so simple to apply, okay? So if you have questions about a specific platform I didn't mention, just contact Pro Trader Strategies. There's absolutely no obligation. They would be more than happy to answer your questions concerning which platform. But just think of all the most prominent platforms: TradeStation, Metastock, Sierra Charts, MT4, NinjaTrader, Thinkorswim. You can use our techniques and products. Steve, does this work on currency pairs? Yes, it does. I have a number of students who apply the Pet Dee with currency pairs, the same technique I shared with you. And plus, I showed you a couple of examples today. I think there was one in the euro-yen, that on a 4-hour chart of the euro-yen that worked perfectly to the downside. So yes, remember, there's another question asking me which markets it works best on. I always answer this the same way. The best market is the one that makes you feel the most comfortable. Remember, I stated at the opening statements, I'm not here to tell you what the best market is. This is not like other websites where they tell you, you should be trading this market only, or you should be trading this time frame only. I don't believe in that. I think the best time frame and the best market is the one that makes you feel the most comfortable. Why do I feel that? Well, because out of the thousands of students we have around the world in over 115 countries, I get testimonials on a daily basis of students saying, Steve, I love your techniques and strategies and methods. I use them on currency pairs on a 10-minute chart, and they've been great for me. Whereas someone else would, contact me and say, Steve, I haven't had much luck in the currency pairs, but it works great in the Emini. I like to use it. Whereas someone else would say, Steve, this is perfect for a swing trading stock. Are they all right or are they all wrong? No, they're all right in terms of whatever makes you feel the most comfortable, because everyone has different risk parameters. Everyone has different time frames they like to trade. Some traders like to trade 20 times a day. Others like to trade one time a month. So there's no one right or wrong way. It's the way that makes you feel the most comfortable. And the beauty of the Pet Dee is that you can apply it to any market, any time frame, and any direction, okay? Okay, I guess that was our final question. With no more questions, I just want to say thank you so much for attending today. I hope you learned a little bit about what our concepts are, what our philosophy is about trading the markets, and how to accurately and how to really simply find out what the trend is. Remember, we never try to swim upstream. We always want to swim with the current at our back. Therefore, we never try to buy when the market's going down, and we never try to sell when the market's going up. We want to be a buyer if the overall and the short-term trend are in sync. We want to be a seller when the overall and the short-term trend are in sync to the downside. It's that simple. You do not have to overcomplicate it with news and information and statistics and earnings and things like that. Trust me, I tried to do that 42 years ago. It didn't work for me then. It's not about to start working now, okay? So as we close here, I want to thank you so much for attending. I really wish you the best of luck as you look at one more chart here of our disclaimer. But please remember, I look forward to all of you becoming students of mine and enrolling in our Pet Dee course, okay? So thank you so much for attending. I wish you the best of luck, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.